At the end of the day, it's really about listening. It's about engaging our ability to be compassionate and to be empathetic and to be human.
Hi, it's John Bernatovich, your host of the HR Like a Boss podcast. Welcome to season 3. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope of finding what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. On today's episode, which is our first of season 3 of the HR Like a Boss podcast, I'm so excited to have Kristin Harper. We met through Haraco, which is the Columbus SHRM organization. She was referred to me by a mutual contact, and she was also one of the original Disrupt HR Columbus presenters. So Kristin, welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast.
Thanks so much, John. It's great to see you again.
I will start every one of my guests out before you and after you with the first question always is, how would you describe the purpose of human resources?
I would describe the purpose of human resources to galvanize a group of people who have common and aligned values and belief and expertise to achieve the objectives of an organization. I think what's really important is that each person has unique skills and experiences and different tolerances for how much they're willing to learn, how much they're willing to stretch, and how many risks they're willing to take and what types of risks they're willing to take. And so it's beyond the technical. There has to be an alignment to have the best performing organization and strong culture, an alignment with what the organization's values, mission, priorities, and job to be done is. And so that's how I would define the purpose of human resources.
I know you probably have some very unique and compelling suggestions for the HR profession on how to develop, how to support from an HR lens, managers or leaders within their organization.
I think what's important as it relates to developing leaders and managers is first understanding yourself. Know thyself is the very first principle that I have in my book. When you know yourself, you can be more confident. You can be more clear about what your strengths and what your opportunities are. And that will help you to be a better leader. The second thing I'm going to say is to know your people and to get to know your people. I'm a huge believer in personality assessments. My very favorite is Clifton Strengths. And I like that because the notion of Clifton Strengths and the philosophy is unlike the DSM with psychologists where there's a diagnosis of what's wrong with you. Clifton Strengths focuses on what's right? And there are 34 strengths that are global across every human being, but what's unique is that they're in a different order. And so that's my favorite tool. And I facilitated, and so has my team, facilitated trainings and workshops with organizations and corporations to help to get to know others. At the end of the day, it's really about listening. It's about engaging our ability to be compassionate and to be empathetic and to be human.
Now, I want to shift a little bit and talk about the future of flexibility at work. Curious, Kristin, I know there's a lot of things that happened around COVID and we went virtual and hybrid and all the changes that happened and trying to be more flexible. And then things have, I think, somewhat shifted back or tried to get back to what it was before or something in between. What is the new normal going to look like for flexibility at work?
Yeah, I think there's 3 aspects of what flexibility should look like today and in the future at work: physical, psychological, and emotional. I'm going to start with emotional first because we talked about that in the last segment around the skill sets that leaders need to lead effectively. And sometimes that training doesn't occur. We do learn, through experience. And one of the things that's so important from an emotional flexibility perspective is taking that time to listen and taking that time to support employees. What if we integrated mental health check-ins into quarterly performance conversations? Again, it's about retaining great talent, not just driving the highest productivity, because that's one of the reasons that people are quiet quitting. They're saying, if I'm not going to be compensated, valued, rewarded, developed for going above and beyond, I'm not going to go above and beyond anymore. So emotional flexibility is necessary. The other aspect of emotional flexibility is thinking about performance management. There are no crystal balls, but I'm really curious how performance management is going to evolve as we're working in different physical environments. Oftentimes I like to talk about the pie model: performance, image, and exposure. And performance is the baseline of advancing, but image and the visibility that you have and the projects that you're on and the coffee chats and the mentors and the sponsors, et cetera, all of those things often lead to more advancement. Well, in this hybrid environment where work tends to be more transactional, because it's often facilitated at least 3 days a week by most companies, which is why what most people want, where it's more digital. How is that going to impact who develops, who advances, who's put into those 9-box grids and where they fall, et cetera? So emotional flexibility is one. The next is around psychological flexibility and psychological safety. It is about creating environment, creating a culture. Again, this is where the manager-employee relationship comes in that micro space. It's about creating a culture where you can provide candid feedback, where you can be open about admitting mistakes and taking risks and learning from each other. So psychological safety and flexibility is necessary. And then obviously, physical flexibility. One of the reasons that there is the great resignation is obviously people aren't just limited to their geographic location. They can work anywhere across the country. Or I just had dinner with a friend this week whose friend lives in Jamaica, works for, I think it's Meta. The team is in California. She's in Jamaica living her best life. And you know what? Life is grand. So certainly mobility policies and flexible arrangements. It's important that organizations implement cybersecurity policies and protections to maintain, again, that IP, which is one of the most valuable assets along with human capital, and then just promoting safe workplace practices. So physical, psychological, and emotional flexibility are necessary for the workplace of the future.
Well, hey, Kristin, I'll get you out of here on this. The podcast is called HR Like a Boss. This is the start of season 3, so super excited. The book that's coming in 2023 is also called HR Like a Boss. So I'm curious to get your perspective on how you would describe someone that does HR like a boss.
Gosh, I'm going to give a shout out actually to one of my clients, Priscilla Quarantang. She is the Chief People Officer at Indeed. And what I love about Priscilla's approach and her leadership style, doing HR like a boss, is clarity with strategy, having the right people on the team and getting the best talent, creating metrics, but then empowering those capable leaders around driving toward the end result. So it's a combination of inspiration, of vision, of strategy, having the right people, creating the right structure and support to develop and to grow and to nurture, and then celebrating together. So that's who I'm going to give a shout out to, who does HR like a boss.
Fantastic job, Kristin. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
Likewise. Thanks so much, John. See you next time.